I did not number these fair fighting rules in any particular order, but I am going to start with the no yelling rule, I guess mainly because that's a very common thing between my wife and I. Now, before we get too far along, I just want you to understand that I am fully aware that yelling does serve a purpose in life under particular circumstances. But for this video, I'm only addressing yelling at your partner, either leading up to a fight or during a fight. My wife is Chinese, and we have had the good fortune to have been able to travel back to China on occasion. And it's always been interesting to me to see how many Chinese people, not all of them, but a large number of Chinese people talk to each other in noticeably loud voices. And I can remember early on, I'd say to my wife, honey, are those people over there, are they mad at each other? Are they fighting? And she'd take a second and key in on the conversation and say, no, they're just talking to each other. I'd say, oh, okay. And then sometimes my wife would just talk to me. And I'd say, honey, you don't need to yell at me. And she'd say, I'm not yelling at you. Again, I'd say, oh, okay. So anyway, I believe there's this element of cultural difference that even after I'm made aware of it, it still throws me off because, I guess mainly because I wasn't raised around people that just talked in loud tones of voices just as a normal course of conversation. Well, when she did yell at me, intentionally, it would immediately throw things out of balance, right? My typical reaction would be to become defensive, like, what did I say? What did I do to deserve you raising your voice at me? You can look up yelling on the internet, and actually I'd strongly encourage you to do so, but I'll just say, yelling at someone can evoke any number of feelings and responses by the one being yelled at. But you know what? Very few of those responses are either positive or healthy. It's important to understand that the person doing the yelling, they're the ones that are out of control. They're the ones that are out of balance. And it's at that moment, I contend, the person getting yelled at is the one that's more in control of the situation. And it's so important for that person not to follow through with a raised voice of their own. Instead, take advantage of your position and try and stay in control of your emotions. Each of our partnerships is somewhat unique, and at the same time it's somewhat generic, right? What I mean is, I can offer you an approach that addresses yelling, but you have to tailor that to your particular situation, to your particular partner. For example, you're the one that has to choose the right vocabulary words, right? Because you don't want to ignite another fire. But the idea is this. You need to let your partner know that you can't and that you won't respond to their yelling. At some appropriate time, either it's right then and there or it's after things have calmed down. But at some point, you need to tell your partner, the person that's yelling at you or has yelled at you, that you are interested in and that you do care about what they have to say, It's just that when they convey their thoughts by yelling at you, you can't concentrate on everything that's being said. Here's a hopefully helpful tip. Try starting that conversation off by complimenting the person that's yelling at you. I know that may sound impossible, but please bear with me. For example, despite all the yelling, maybe, just maybe, that person actually had a valid point. Well, you could take this opportunity to actually acknowledge that. Or if that's not the case, another example might be you could say something positive about how maybe in the past that person has actually brought up often some helpful suggestions or ideas. Just a couple examples. But after the compliment, then you transition and you make clear to them that you want to be, that you deserve to be talked to in a friendly tone of voice. And hopefully the conversation that you're having is being conducted with a normal speaking tone. And you could maybe bring that up, bring it to that person's attention that, look, how healthy this exchange of ideas is compared to being yelled at. Maybe your partner has long-standing issues with yelling, maybe even from childhood. If they've been dealing with this for that period of time, they're maybe even so emotionally callous that they don't know how it feels, how awful it feels to be yelled at. So explain that being yelled at makes you feel intimidated, hurt, embarrassed, or however it makes you feel. And although it is helpful and healthy to share your feelings, likewise, it's healthy and important to try and understand how your partner was feeling at the time they were prompted to start yelling. You're sharing, they're sharing. It's called balance, and that's a good thing. If I had a chance to talk to your yelling partner, I think I'd say something like this. Please understand that yelling at your partner is one of the least effective means of communicating. It's your personal responsibility to get control of your emotions and not erupt into some yelling tirade. The burden is on you, and you need to be honest with yourself in recognizing that burden. In addition, you need to strive to become a better communicator. And I mean, good grief, who doesn't want to become a better anything? You need to work on that. It can be done. You can do it. And you know what? If you ask your partner to help, I'll bet they'd be thrilled to help. And that's all I'd say to them. Beyond that, I'd like to ask that you please do look up yelling on Google just for some additional information. And you know what? As always, you guys are great to give me an audience. Thank you.